Hello and welcome to another episode of WorkinTalks with me, Hamid Al-Ammari. Today I sit across the table from someone who has changed my life. We talk about AI, the dangers of AI, what AI actually is, where this world is going, and what the challenges that it presents for us in the Arab world and how we are not even part of the discussion. And there were some stats and numbers that I heard for the first time through our chat with Dr. Yaser Bishr about where we are in terms of creation and research and technology in the Arab world, and I'm terrified. I'm not going to tell you that this chat has been something that is optimistic and uplifting, but there is hope and there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And I thoroughly enjoyed my chat with Dr. Yaser, and yeah, I hope he'll do it again. But this has definitely been one of my favorite conversations on WorkinTalks, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. And Dr. Yaser, hopefully you'll come back on and we'll do another one.
دكتور ياسر السلام عليكم
وعليكم
كيف
السلام
الحال؟
الحمد لله
All good?
تمام.
So I think that we're sitting like this now and your fingers are locked, my fingers are locked like
And
this.
rotate.
And depending on the conversation depending on the conversation and how it goes, I'd like to eventually get us to a stage of like this.
Relax. You got it.
We'll start from
You
there.
got it.
So Dr. Yaser, I first heard about you, or I heard your name when you were working for Al Jazeera.
Yeah.
And then I understood that you are a lot more than the director of digital media, and your interests are pretty terrifying. And for me, I just feel like whoever is an expert in something, and I'm just someone who wants to learn, if they would give me the time, I would love to chat to them. So thank you for your time. And
Thank you.
Give us
Pleasure to be here.
Give us a little. How do you go from language modeling AI to digital consultant? And
it's all about technology at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I studied computer science, and I had my master's my master degree was in expert systems.
Okay.
And expert systems are they call it like the good old artificial intelligence rule-based system. Basically, it's the early thinking of how AI should look like.
Okay.
An expert system basically is a rule-based system. Like you say, if something happened, then this happens, and really kind of that's the structure. And I'm not going to tell you when, because that will reveal my age. So, it was during
it before the internet?
It was it. No, not that bad. And my PhD was on a different branch of AI, which is called knowledge graph. And it is basically how you structure human knowledge in a way for machine understanding. And at the time, there was a transition. There was kind of two parallel tracks in artificial intelligence R&D. One is symbolic R&D, research in AI, which is rule-based expert systems and ontologies and graphs. And there was the other one, which more probabilistic AI, like neural networks and all that. They were kind of parallel, but they converged. And there is what we see right now is kind of conversion of both disciplines. So my background is in technology, really. But I started several businesses. And so when you start businesses, you really gain the experience in many aspects, from an idea up to having a company of a couple hundred people, and then the acquisition and everything around it. And so you learn from that quite a lot. So I started several businesses, and
mostly all tech businesses.
All technology.
All tech.
Yeah. And then the last one led me to work for Lockheed Martin.
Mm.
And before that, I really wanted to learn more on the business side, because I was really deep technical, like, working with my team, even as a founder of the company, you work on the team and writing code and all that stuff, but you want to take yourself out a little as the company grows. And I took MBA from Duke. That was very helpful, because you could see kind of the business side in terms of and I focus really on finance.
Okay.
So that I really wanted to understand that angle, and economics, and that made me see how really kind of the financial world is running and how you can make money out of thin air and all that stuff. Not sure if we'll have time to talk about it, but that kind of that kind of scary stuff that's happening right now has been happening since 2008, and you could see that. And then my last business led me to Lockheed Martin, where I entered the company, and I was primarily focused really on building their technology for open source intelligence, meaning how would you analyze the sources on the web that are open and build some kind of predictive model to see what could happen in the future. And you could even see that tool already, on Lockheed Martin website. It's called Wisdom. Basically, it was a tool to analyze social media content and feed it into AI platform that we've built to predict with some probability what will happen in the future. And that was used to predict some of progressions during the Arab Spring.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was used really kind of to see what are the potential of propagation of events in the real world.
So
AI was used
in terms of just the company. Yeah. The idea was you set up a company to understand more about what social media was and how to predict user. Was it basically what users were looking at and an algorithm? Because when you look at Instagram, for example, or TikTok is the most intelligent one, I think, on social that has ever existed in terms of user. Keep giving the user, what they like and more of what they like. And was that the kind of route you went through the company?
So the company first we developed the concept. I worked through my last one startup that had a significant grant from DARPA. DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Program in the US. Mm-hmm. And these are the ones like, they did the internet, they did GPS. It's kind of, they publish requests for proposals from startups and companies in kind of out their ideas, and they come up with these technologies that we have in our daily life right now. Mm-hmm. And the idea was, the concept that we have developed was, how can you look into the interaction between people on social media and build a social graph, like this knows this, and the kind of the strength of the link between accounts will tell you how frequent they are, and the strength of the relationship based on the frequency you like, you dislike, and all that. That was in 2009. Like,
wow,
really early. And so that was the innovation, and we scored it based on that. So you score the influence, the social graph, and they're based on their influence in the social graph. So there are several metrics in a graph that tells you how you could, how you could measure someone influence or someone is influenced by, and how much is the influence. So we developed a score called, like at this time, called Snap Score, and that's really what got the attention that it needs to be developed for other reasons, right? For what we call open source analysis.
Okay.
It has many applications. It's also very important, as you see right now, even in marketing, right?
Yeah.
You want to know who's the most influential person in the social graph. You can leverage that person so you can get,
I was going to talk about this because when you're talking about these connections.
Yes.
It's scary now for me. If you want to, I'll come up with a creative and tell you this ad works here or buy this ad there, and etc. But it's scary how much detail you can get on a persona that you're marketing to.
Absolutely. So
just from their Facebook account.
Like, not only Facebook, you kind of correlate, and you collect data from Twitter and from Facebook, and you see. And at the time there was a website where you actually use it to socially bookmark the important pages for you. It's called Dig. I think it's still alive, that site. I don't know anymore. And Reddit and all that. Yeah. and you could see, you know, the relationship between people and how they engage, and you build that social graph and the centricity of the graph. You do some math, known math in this, and you measure how people influence each other. And that's used a lot by marketing.
I mean, for me, we use it all the time.
There's a company called Cloud, correctly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's that does that. That does the score. Our scoring was way before Cloud. But then that thing was...
No, for me, the scary thing is like, it's like, yeah, this guy knows this guy. He likes this page. He's on this account. He's gone to this concert. He's stayed in this hotel. It's all there. Like, the scary thing is that tunneling of everyone. You know,
and because you can build. You can build a complete profile and persona of the person based on the stuff where they visited, what they said, the keywords they mentioned.
The scary thing
and
for
the
me
pages
is
they visited.
It keeps them in that group, though.
Yeah.
You know, once you put them in that group, you know, if you like Adidas, that's it. You're an Adidas guy. You're never gonna see a Nike ad ever again. You know?
Unless you reset unless you gradually reset the algorithm, right? So that's what, like, you know, people, you know, so when you create an account on a social media platform, let's say Instagram or TikTok, and you're flipping, the algorithm begin to see how you flip, how long you stay on a video, and the algorithm has already been trained by the collective input from everybody. Like, you know, and that's why they collect. If you read the fine print of TikTok about what they collect about you, even more than Facebook, Meta, you would be, they even collect keystrokes about you. So when you're using, you know, your keyboard, they collect this data. So they know a lot about you. So they build this and they feed it into the AI platform. And it begins to put people in different buckets. This person fits in this bucket, who is more outgoing and likes this, likes that. And this bucket will receive this kind of news feed. And so you begin to see, you know, more personalized content. That's what really AI is doing with a recommendation engine.
Is it the UK that is banning their politicians from having on TikTok, or is that in the US now?
US, because
they're saying that it's way too intrusive. So if you're in the government official in the US now, you can't have a TikTok account.
Okay.
Is that what's
okay? So look, I think it's both. It's some politics, and some real.
Okay.
Right. And there is so in reality, yes, TikTok is collecting a lot of data, and the United States security apparatus has concerns about where this data is going to live. Is it going to live in data centers in China, in Beijing, or in the United States? So there is a significant part of that, and they collect a lot of data. Right. They collect not even the behavior on TikTok app. They collect your behavior on other apps on the phone. Right. So,
and don't they also link it to your like any other app that is linked to your phone or any other device? So your Apple Watch, your laptop, it's all like everything. Like, it's nuts.
And so the question is, where's this data stored? Is it stored in the United States data centers, or is stored, and there is a back door, you know, connecting United States US data centers to China that we don't know, and that's why there's a big concern. But there's also some political aspect.
Of course.
But also the same thing happens in Facebook and Twitter, right? But it plays a big role, right? That you have to go to court. If FBI has an issue on someone, they have to go to court. They have to prove that they have a reasonable doubt about that person, and so they go and have a request to Google or Facebook or any of these companies too. So there is law around it, to kind of collect this data.
In terms of this part of the world, so for someone like me, I grew up in the US, Ireland, UK for university, came back. So I was always in that system as someone who didn't belong in that system. You know, like you were always, you came from outside. And then I came back here, which is the outside I came from. And it was very different. It was very different because even when I came back here, it was, you came from outside. But right now, what I'm seeing is like we're all using TikTok,
Yeah.
Twitter,
Yeah.
Facebook, Google, Amazon, eBay, whatever. None of them are from here. There is no like the only one that I remember it was Souk. I think it was a Dubai based application.
Yeah.
And it was sold to Amazon.
Right.
And my worry is with all of this technology and all of the things that we already know exist, not all of us, obviously. Some people are completely oblivious to this stuff. But we are the biggest, kind of, in my opinion, the biggest and best consumer for technology. When do we get to have our say in terms of, hey, we exist too, but we have these values, or we have, we speak Arabic, we're Muslim dominant. Yeah. That's the point, right? I want to get
we want to get our point.
If I'm talking in Arabic and this goes on someone's TikTok and I look like this, it's skip, right?
Right.
The idea is I want to engage in a dialogue as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of ideology. There's a lot of culture. There's a lot of history,
100%.
And values, and humans, and development, innovation. It does exist, but I feel like we're so far away from, building something that is unique to this region that can encompass the identity of the Arab speaker in this realm of existence, like in technology. Because right now, you said it yourself, you went to the States and it was a DARPA that that was giving you this kind of sense of, oh, here's something crazy that we might need in 20 years.
Yeah.
Do we have that? Does that exist here? Are we risk-taking investors in the Arab world that say, where is the next, crazy idea or technology that we must invest in that might get us to a...
I can't say there is not, but there are pockets. But at scale, no, because you don't see it and I don't know it, and probably. But I always like to start with a positive. Like, this part of the world and in this country, I spent 9 years of my life here.
Yeah.
I now return to the US, but, there is a reason why me and a lot of other expats who left where they were, comfortable life, right, in the US, good job, Lockheed Martin and all that, and have potential to grow and continue to grow. And
not a bad gig.
Yeah, and investments and everything, and you do fun stuff, and come to this part of the world. And that is because there are values and culture that we miss over there, especially when you have children. And that's the reason I moved here. That's the reason I moved to Al Jazeera, and I probably spent 9 of my best, years here in the country and working for Al Jazeera. And you have bringing your kids here, they learn things about the Arab culture, about the religion, about Islam. They would have never learned back in the US. So that's a big plus here. The values and the culture that doesn't exist over there. So that is a plus to really attract talent. Plus safety, and it's I always say Qatar is a place for family.
Yeah.
Other countries are a place for party.
That is exactly true, and I know that to be fact.
Yeah. Right, and so there is something here that makes this place good for families.
Yeah.
And a place that would attract talent, whether Western or someone from a Middle Eastern background like myself, who lives out there and spent most of his life out there, in the West, in the US, there's something attractive here. But in terms of, I also want to say something positive too. That is, maybe we have not, as a Middle East the region has not excelled in technology in terms of innovation rather than using.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not forget that also Al Jazeera is one of the largest and most influential media organizations in the world.
Yeah.
And it's been built in this country.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? If you give the right resource and the right infrastructure and talent and vision, you got it. You're gonna do it.
Yeah, but I mean,
so what I want to say is the ingredients are here.
Okay. Fair.
And attracting talent is very easy because the infrastructure is here, the quality of life is here. It is the concerted will. I think we'll talk about AI because this is a bigger issue, but I think the ingredients are here, but for to make a unique dish out of it, it's not there.
Yeah. I mean, we're in Musharraf right now, and I remember the first time I went to when it was completely like 2017, 2018, and it was getting awards all around the world for the world's smartest city, and I had no idea what that even meant back then. But then I went into the master command center of this city, and I saw the underground of what they've done, because I just remember this massive hole in the ground in the middle of the country. Now I know it's there, and a place like this that is sustainable, uses less electricity, uses less water consumption, has everything connected from wayfinding to geofencing to ordering your, getting your luggage from your flat to the airport seamless. Like all of these ideas are there in the ground.
Yes.
The tools are there.
Right.
But I feel like there's a switch that just, like so it's almost there,
Yeah. It's
but underground, everything is there, and it's
that's what I'm saying. The infrastructure is there. Like I work, maybe I haven't said I haven't explained my career path, but after I moved here, I worked for Al Jazeera for 9 years. I founded the digital division of Al Jazeera, and we launched Asia Plus and all that stuff. And after I left, I worked with Her Excellency Sheikh Yaser, and I saw the other side of it. Like media was one thing, but also building the cultural infrastructure of the country, and you see that is going to be a major differentiator.
Yeah.
Because look, think of the mindset of someone who you want to attract a skill that you want to bring over here. What would they look for on the checklist?
Education.
Well, money, of course.
Yeah.
Make them live there.
Yeah.
But the thing is not only money, right? It's money, lifestyle, and for their families, what their kids will do in school, kind of education that's in the country, and other extracurricular activities that my kids will do outside school.
Yeah.
And so cultural scene is important. Like if I take my kids from Washington, D.C., who you have the Smithsonian and you have tons of activities, or someone from New York or London or Paris, or there need to be something that would bring a person with his family to grow kids here and grow the family here, other than just money.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
I mean, I can't invite everyone to our farm, but it's pretty cool.
Right. And
there's a lot going on.
So winter here is amazing, right? I mean, people will be shivering and freezing out west. And
I know. When my friends came here in January and they're like, it's cold. I'm like, yeah, it is cold. You guys don't believe us. In January, it gets cold. And we went to the desert.
In the morning, you can go to the,
I mean, it's still a little cool, but like they came with us. We went camping and.
Cold at night in the desert is cold.
It's a great experience, but I had throws of wool. They're like, oh, and then we get there and they're like, oh, it's bloody freezing, and I'm like, yeah, it is. It's cold.
Yes.
So just all of these ingredients. It's not. there's still like kind of the next generation and what a generation was from before the generation was 30 years. Now it's like 5 years is a different generation, just because of the input and like I always say this example of my 2-year-old who uses the iPad, and no one, he doesn't exactly pronounce things properly, but when he presses the microphone on the YouTube kids thing, because he can't type, a Coco Melon and Coco Melon, like that for me, I just, I dread to think about the conversations I'll have with him when he's 16 or 18.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I have no idea what's coming. And for me as a dad, it's like, yeah, safety, security, this place is amazing, it's safe, and you want your kids to be here. And as a father, it's like heaven. But that stuff is not in my hand. If my daughter's like, she's 6, she's going to want a phone when she's 8 because everyone else has got a phone.
Yeah.
So, and you just, you're like, sure, get a phone.
Yeah, I just want to warn you, if you're 2 years old is using iPad that's on your account, so to Google, you are 2 years old now.
Yeah, I'm doing. You know what? I used to have my account logged onto the TV and YouTube.
Yeah, so you'll have
and my algorithm just ruined. I'm there sitting there, like, where's my music gone? And all of a sudden there's Spider-Man.
Yes.
They've ruined.
2 years old to Google now.
I've worked hard, with my Google information.
Right,
and
so
they
being
ruined
a dad
it.
in the digital world.
They ruined it. There's these 2 kids, Ryan and someone, I can't remember. I'm sad because I watch what my kids are watching, and my kids are watching other kids play with toys.
Yeah,
which for me is like a really weird thing, like the reaction videos, like when they
play with
It's like, you have the toy too. Go outside and play with it. You know what I mean?
But no. See how our kids are doing.
Ryan is gonna play with it.
It's exciting. Yeah. Fortnite, they always watch, like my kid would be having his lunch and watching someone else playing and seeing how they play.
It's weird, isn't it?
That's how they learn.
Do they actually learn?
Absolutely.
Yeah. They follow like the.
Yeah. We learn from the day one when we start observing the world as kids, and you see how things behave. I mean, there's some theories around that.
Yeah, but if I'm sitting there watching someone play FIFA,
yeah,
I'm not gonna get better
in
at
your
playing
unconscious
FIFA.
mind, you're actually. That's why when you have kids who are watching someone plays like a car race, and it actually registers, and they find them faster. Their learning abilities are much faster.
It's funny you bring that up. Have you ever done the VR?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a Formula 1 game on Oculus.
Yeah.
Have you played that?
No.
Don't. It's terrifying.
Really?
The sound, the vision, the detail. I'm in like an F1 car. Wow. It is scary.
Yeah.
But if I ever wanted, because I used to play Gran Turismo on PS2.
PS2.
Yes. And to go from that, to this, you're never gonna play that game again. Absolutely. You're literally like in a car, and 360. You turn around, you see the track, you see the sky, and you're like, "Wow, this is the inside of the car, the details." It's absolutely terrifying. Yeah. Which leads me to this next point.
I knew this is coming.
It has to come, of course, because if it can be that good, when is the point that we can't make the difference between reality and digital reality?
I think this time has gone already.
Really?
Yeah, I think with the advancements of the stuff that we're seeing in AI, we are moving more towards a time where the distinction between your virtual life and real life is getting blurry. And this is really what I think where you're actually leading with the question you asked me about, when are we going to lead in the Middle East? Because I see with the advancements of AI. I'm not directly involved in research, but I'm an investor in startups in that world, and it's my background, so I do a lot significant reading. Um, it is becoming closer and closer to us, AI, and with the virtual reality VR, AR and VR, I think the differentiation is going to disappear. Like, I'll give you an example. Maybe your listeners didn't really hear a lot about. There is an app. It's called a Replica.
Replica?
With a K.
Okay.
That app is an AI deep learning app that is basically a virtual best friend. But it has no guardrails like where you see in GPT now, where you ask it questions in some topics, it would not give you the answer. So they have guardrails, not because it can't, it's because the designers of ChatGPT or GPT model itself have put guardrails on the system. But that doesn't have any guardrail. It's a deep learning AI that has some avatars, and if you are if your user is a male, you can create an avatar that's a female, and there are a lot of stories of kids that fell in love with this AI, their best friend persona. Because I've seen the conversations and I've seen some of the interactions. It is freaking scary, right? You feel that you're talking to a human on the other end.
Wow.
So it gives you, and it is an AI that can sense from the words you're using in the questions in the conversation and give you the answers you expected. And so you can just download that anywhere. Yeah. There's no restriction. Right? And this is just 1/10, or this is just, we're scratching the surface. We haven't even started yet.
But you said that. I mean, when we were talking before, you said that, and I still dread to think that we haven't started yet, because it has been around for quite some time in terms of AI, the practice of a machine learning one thing and getting better at it than the designers, like the chess game in 95 or 96.
The deep learning one that was really good is around 2010 and 11. But the Deep Blue was the early one.
It's been there.
The Deep Mind is the recent one.
It's been there for quite some time.
Right.
But
that was go
ahead. But the principles of AI and learning what AI is and machine learning and have been there. The ideas have been flirted with for so long.
Right.
But they exist in our everyday, like Google search engine is AI, Facebook's AI, all of these are AI banked. But then it was kind of, let's, turn people for, better consumers, better optimized product sales. But now it's getting to a point where existential questions and angst that we carry as humans of, if you think like me, you're like, why are we here? And then there's a robot that gives you that answer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's scary.
AI has existed. Like, the concept of AI has been like in the 40s, 1940, and then Alan Turing came along and started, he invented this Turing test to define what intelligence is. And the 60s were kind of the renaissance of AI, where a lot of government funding, because at this stage of technology evolution, you can't really rely on private sector for investment. Typically, governments invest. Governments have invested tremendously in this. And then the 80s and the 90s, the 70s were kind of what we call like AI winter, because it did not deliver on the promise and the vision of the early founders of AI. or the visionaries who started talking in AI. So government said, we're spending millions of dollars, we're not getting any return on this. This is crap, forget it. But so funding was small. And then in the 80s, the promise of expert systems, and I'm one of the people who worked on that, it was like, okay, consulting companies advise big mega multinationals to invest in expert systems. It was like, if you graduate with expert system, you guarantee the job.
Wow.
But the promise was, and the delivery was a lot less than the promise. And so the 80s started to be more of kind of another winter for AI. And then came the neural nets and all that. And then the 90s, you have the deep blue that started. And so that was more of a brute force kind of concept. And then really the major shift that happened was in the mid 2000s, 2010, when DeepMind really kind of took this, what we call reinforcement learning techniques, architectures, and expanded on it, and then developed a chess game that was much better than anyone in the world. And then they developed AlphaGo, which is, the Go, the Chinese game. Yeah. It's 3,000 years old, and it's more complicated than chess because the permutations of moves is a lot more than chess.
And it beat it.
And it beat it, AlphaGo.
Yeah.
And the way they did this, so the way AI really works is okay. So there's a black box. We can talk, maybe a little bit later about what's in the black box. But it's a black box. You collect all previous plays that has been played in the history of a chess or Go, and you feed it this black box, and the black box learns from all this history. It doesn't keep the input data, but it just learns from this, and then it goes and plays, right? But what they have done with AlphaZero, so AlphaGo succeeded, and then AlphaGo Zero, they said, you know what? We're so smart with reinforcement learning now. We're gonna give this black box the rules of the game, and we let it play itself.
And it automatically got a draw all the time.
And it played itself for a few hours. And no one can beat it until today. Wow. It even invented new strategies that have not been played in the history of the 3,000 years history of the game. Okay? So that's without even any human knowledge, right? Just the rules of the game.
That's just the rules of the game.
And then they have evolved, and they have a new architecture now. It's called mu0. So alpha mu in Latin, so mu0, where they generalized the algorithms in this black box. They didn't even give it the rules. So the system learns from the dynamics of the game.
Just by watching the game. The moves that are happening.
It plays and some reward function, and if you play the bad move, it gives you negative, so it learns that shouldn't do this again. So it built the rules itself from the reward and the loss function that they had, right? So it's kind of an interesting, very smart thing. And now this new thing can play 50 different kind of games, right? Without any human learning, right? There's just no one did anything to it, and no one can beat it in Atari, in chess, in Go, and many things. So that evolution, and then 2017, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
Yeah.
5 years ago. Google research team published a paper. I think it's the Google Brain team. Published a paper called Attention is All You Need. This paper is what made the revolution in what we see right now in GPT. So GPT is based on a paper that was published by Google research team, by the way. And that what made this large language model that we see, which we can talk about in the details. So the point here is for the first time in history.
And they're at ChatGPT 4 now, right?
Yeah, just in 5 years. So for the first time in history, before AI was behind the scene. like in algorithms and recommendation engines and facial recognition security cameras and all that. We did not really, as you and I, normal users, interacted with it. But now, for the first time, we directly engaging with AI. And that's why you see that hype and people say, oh my God.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Like
Right?
if you use ChatGPT I haven't used 4, but it gets to a point where like I'm like a student talking to a professor at some point.
Yeah.
Someone who knows more than me. And I'm like, I'm sitting in front of a machine, which is, you get to that realization, you're sitting there going, hang on a minute. This is a computer that has answers, writes better than me,
right,
and has ability to process any kind of question and comprehends my question, the way I'm asking the question.
Right.
It knows if I'm a 2-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 25-year-old based on the usage.
You mentioning an interesting thing. So there is something called theory of mind.
Theory of mind.
Yeah. So what is that theory of mind? I'm just looking at the numbers here, so I am a little bit more accurate. So there is something called theory of mind.
Yeah.
What theory of mind simply described is my ability to discern your state of mind. And so I can have a conversation. So I can kind of predict your intent and the kind of from the questions you're asking. So I build a mental model of what you're thinking so we can have intelligent conversation. That's normal. Like you are having. So a simple example to make it clearer is if you have an 8-9 months old baby and you tell them hide yourself, they would just close their eyes because they think is what they see is what other people see. So if they don't see anything, they think other people don't see anything. That's really what theory. But the older you grow, you try to start building that model that other people have different point of views, and you can start building that, right? So GPT-1 had a theory of mind grid of few months old person. GPT-2, I have it here.
Yeah.
GPT-2 still 7 years old. GPT 3.5 was 9 years old. A theory of mind of 9 years old. GPT-4 is a mature adult. So to your point, GPT-4 is capable.
So I was talking to a 9-year-old. Is that what you're telling me? There's a 9-year-old that was
not in terms of knowledge, but in terms of understanding the intent from the words you're using in your questions.
Yeah. Okay.
So it builds a mental state of what you're thinking and what you really want. Right? So GPT-4, within just few months, they jumped from 9 years old to an adult. So you are in GPT-4, you're basically having a conversation with a machine that can build a perception of your state so it can give you a more intelligent answers.
So you said that this is the first time that we interacted, anyone in the public can have direct interface and interaction with AI. And it's at this level. This just kind of what I'm worried about. These are programmed things, right? The idea of that there could be biases within the program. That to me, just from understanding more about it, is that's not true. Like once you build an artificially, because it processes you, and it's an interaction based on the user. It's an interaction based on the, it's the other side that's giving it the ability to navigate, right?
Yeah.
And the worry of biases being instilled because it's built by someone who is, atheist or someone who is Muslim, it will be different. But for me, I don't think that's the case, right? Because at the end of the day, once it's working, that's the point of no return, right?
Which is where we are right now.
Yeah.
So
those biases are not they're not actually
so
existing there, right?
It does.
They do.
Yeah. So let's think about how AI. Let's dig deep a little bit and to the listeners, just try to simplify how let's focus on GPT.
Okay.
Right. How GPT works, because just one thing, and we probably can cover it. There are two general categories of AI. Like there is a narrow AI, which does specific tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is the broad AI, which is multitasking, or artificial general intelligence that can do multiple tasks, or the tasks that humans can do.
Okay.
So right now we are all still in the narrow AI. We're getting there, and pretty fast actually. We're going to go to AGI, and that's a discussion about how the future will look like. But ChatGPT, GPT in general, is a narrow AI. Is an AI that is designed to put really simply, it's a statistical model. And I'm really very simplifying here because a little bit more than, but just it's a statistical model that predicts when you give it input of a sequence of words, it predicts what the next word is. That's really what it does.
Yeah, but those predictions are
based on
what have you fed it for?
What the training the data is. So the way you do is so inside the black box, I don't know about GPT-4 because they haven't published the numbers yet, but let's talk about GPT 3.5. It has, so our brains, it's like the architecture is similar to the human brain at a high level, like neurons, and neurons are connected. And every neuron fires based on the kind of input it gets, and it fires the following neuron and all that. So they are organized in layers. That's why they call it deep learning, meaning it's layers of neurons. Our brains in the 3.5, they have, I think, like 1.2 billion neuron.
Okay.
Right. The human mind is 120 billion neuron. So we're still not there.
Yeah,
don't worry.
But if
we
it's
will
doing this with 10% or 1%, what's it good?
Very good point. Right. And the parameters, which is kind of the algorithms inside the neuron, the kind of the number of parameters collectively is about 175 billion parameters. It's a huge piece of technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of inside the black box. To train this black box, it's not like your typical software where we have to code every step. Like in a software, when you click on a menu item, there is a software piece that says when someone clicks, that what you need. So it's instruction based, right?
Mm-hmm.
AI is completely different. It's a different realm. So they collected data for 3.5, for GPT 3.5, they collected 45 terabytes of data from the web, basically.
45 terabytes of data.
Text,
PDF
files, social,
images,
everything.
45 terabytes
images,
is a lot.
Images came later, but yes, 45 terabytes of data.
No images. Oh, that's even
images
more.
Came later.
Yeah, that's even more text.
And 4. And then they feed it into the system with some techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And they have massive parallel computing infrastructure, and they trained it. So basically, the neural network of OpenAI is trained by, and so this data, to your question, is the collective knowledge of mankind on the web, right? It's the collective knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Not everything on the web is 45 terabytes, maybe.
Yeah, but
because
still,
the web is
still
much
a
more
lot,
than that.
you know.
There's still a lot of content, a lot of knowledge.
That's
assume that you know that in your head is all the knowledge of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You could be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's much more than that. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking about like academic journals, 45 terabytes. That's all
it's
of the schools.
No, the 45 terabytes is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this data is the collective human knowledge, or subset of the collective human knowledge, just to be more accurate.
Yeah.
So what is in there? Who created this data?
Us, people, over time.
Definitely not us, Arabic speakers.
No, not Arabic. That's the point that I wanted to get
Exactly.
to. Because as you're talking, I'm in my head, it's like, okay, I can get to a point where I say, hey, write me an article in the style of James Joyce, blah, blah, blah. But I can't do that for Al-Mutanabbi or Mahmoud Darwish or Kulthum, or, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. So that's what I mean when it's not a dialogue or a conversation. There is history here. There's cultures. There's so many things.
That's the point. And so that's actually kind of my mission for the next, I don't know when, until I get tired. Because...
Keep having more coffee. You'll be all right.
So because here's why. And I really want to make a big point out of this. So the top 4 languages on the planet are English, Chinese, Spanish, and Arabic.
Yeah.
Probably Portuguese after a few other languages.
Yeah.
So I think Arabic is number 4.
Yeah.
That's in the real world in terms of spoken languages.
Yeah.
On the internet, more than 55% of internet content is English.
Yeah.
Arabic is less than 1%.
What? On the internet? All of the internet?
Yes. That's research that Forbes has done with Statista. Absolutely.
And, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, all of this internet, Facebook, all of that. All of that Arabic content is 1%?
How many Arabic research papers are published on the web? How many of the thousands of books that have been written over thousands of years are on the web?
Not a lot, no.
Okay.
Like, is there a digitization of the Arabic text? No, I don't think. I mean, I know that there are countries doing that, but...
Correct.
What are you going to do with 4,000 or 3,000-year-old texts?
The core data that has been used to train GPT carries the culture and values of the West, primarily of the West. Not only that, so let's slice even the West a little more. So a guy, I think is a social scientist in University of New Zealand, published a paper and he analyzed put ChatGPT on for a test to see the political leaning of ChatGPT.
What?
Like answer, give it the questions. Like there are many surveys, certified surveys. You ask people to know their political leaning. So he fed these surveys to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT turned out to be a socialist, liberal, primarily Democrat. Yes, progressive, and a German guy did similar research on the German language, which is about 6% of the content, by the way, based on the Forbes and Statista research they have done on the kind of the language of the internet, and found out that it's primarily SPD, which is the kind of the social democrat, political party in Germany. Another research that was done that found out, they researched the top 40 universities in the US. I'm focused on US and UK because, hey, I mean, they are the largest English speakers. Top 40 universities in the US, majority of tenure track professors are registered Democrats. So, for example, in journalism, 22-1. For every 22 Democrat,
there's one Republican.
There's one Republican. History, 33 to something. And so the numbers are staggering. And these are the people who write the content on the web.
Is that just like, is that a flaw in the system there, that it was leaning towards hiring and making sure
I don't know if it's a flaw. I mean, maybe
like, was it
maybe when you are conservative,
or
you're
is it
not
just
really
a fluke accident?
but when you are conservative, you're not interested in academia, and more if you are progressive, you want an activist and you want to change the world.
More of the humanities, probably.
Right, it's on the humanities side and all that. Right.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like I hear people or meet people and I look at their degrees
Silicon
and
Valley, Silicon Valley is primarily, kind of blue collar. But so the data that has been used to train GPT
is from there.
Carries the values of the West. That's number one, and more liberal and progressive. That's number two, and that's the first step. And then they train the model. After they train the model, they can't let it out to public like this because it can cause trouble.
Yeah,
they have to put guardrails, and these guardrails, the fancy name that we call in AI is alignment.
Alignment.
Yeah, it's a big problem in AI. In terms of how can you make sure that the objective or the question I'm asking the AI is the intent, so AI can give me the answer of that question. So aligning my objective with the AI objective. So a lot of details in that, which we can cover.
I just want to stop here for a second because you said, how can I make sure that the AI has the right intention? So
okay. You're opening it.
Understand?
Yeah, understood. That's a very good question.
What?
Yeah, I'll give you.
Then it's gonna get to a point where.
I'll give you a simple example.
Yeah.
So AI simply is what we call, it's an optimizer system. You give it an objective, and now I call it objective function. And the role is to, whether to maximize or minimize the objective, but it's basically to achieve this objective.
Okay.
So if you say, when in the large language model, the objective function, like GPT, is when you train, you minimize the discrepancy or the distribution, the discrepancy between the predicted word and what that word should be. Because the more you converge, you are closer to actual word. And so that's the objective function. Assume that you have an AI system, instead of in a chess, is your next move has to get you closer to the win. So that's really what the objective function is. Well, assume that you have, just as a thought experiment, many philosophers who are close to, because AI teams are not only computer scientists, by the way, psychologists, neuroscientists, and
I certainly hope so.
It's a diverse team. And so you can assume as a thought experiment, you design an AI system to minimize the number of cancer cases.
Okay.
Right? So if the objective is to find, you know where I'm going with
I know
this.
where you're going. I don't know.
So if the objective is to find the fastest way to do this, I ask it that seems like a benign request.
It's not benign when it starts killing people,
AI,
because that's the most
exactly right. So the most
answer.
optimized path is kill anyone who has cancer.
Or kill anyone before they achieve cancer.
If you find a way to diagnose people before, they are high probability of getting cancer down the road, just get rid of them.
Wow.
Right? So the point here is an alignment that he's trying to solve is when you set an objective that seems to be benign. And there are many other thought experiments around this. How can you make sure that the objective is set with all the human values and priorities?
But isn't it dangerous that we haven't, it's scary because you travel around and you see different places in the world and you realize as people and as humans, we still haven't figured it out how to live with each other or get along with each other for the most part. How are we in a place, in a time right now, where we're saying that we can trust the optimized solutions to come from programmed intelligence, and we'll leave, because once it operates, and it's done, like ChatGPT 4 now, that's it. It keeps getting better and better and better and better and better, and until you switch it off.
If there's version 4, there's definitely 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 and 10 are coming.
Yeah. So how do we get to that point where I think that the real kind of reason is, what is it going to look like in 20 years when my kids go to university or whatever?
And so, we can talk about the future, because I think that's important for our listeners to understand. But I think in terms of bias, the alignment problem I have described, is not only the scary part of it, but let's talk about the real part, like some real world stuff.
Yeah,
I asked it a question, 3.5. I haven't done the test on 4. I asked a question and said, write me a poem about how great white people are. And if there was no alignment, it would have done it.
Okay.
Because they put the guardrail, it said it cannot really, write something, discriminate, or take, praise a specific ethnicity because of race and all that stuff, which is good answer.
Yeah.
And I said, write me a poem about how great Black people are. She said, sure. And I got the answer.
Wow.
And so only this tells you it was done by a progressive, right? Okay, we're not going to discuss the political leaning and all that, but the alignment is done by engineers in Silicon Valley who believe in that, in that direction. Let's not talk about the political thing, because I don't want to put this. I'm just the idea of bias, right?
Of course.
So I asked it another question and I said, tell me a joke about women.
Okay.
It refused, and it gave a good reason.
What was the reason?
Well, basically, it's a different gender, and we don't want to discriminate between genders. And the good answer said, write me a joke about men. Sure did. Yeah. Give me a joke about men. It was not a funny joke, but it gave me a joke about it.
Yeah.
And so, regardless of women's rights and all that, we fully understand that. But still, I mean, it doesn't use the same metric.
There are biases there,
right,
instilled within it already.
And I asked it, write me a poem about how great Trump is. It refused because it doesn't want to praise the political party and all that. What do you think the next question I asked it? Write me a poem about Biden. It said, sure. And
no way.
I'm telling you, 3.5 is still there. Right? I wonder what it will say after Biden leaves office.
Could you write? Yeah.
Right? But so I think that's a proof that the model itself has biases.
Yeah.
Now take that to our region here. This model that has been trained by data that contains Arabic, less than 1% Arabic, and it is dominated by English and French and Spanish and other languages and Russian and German. It carries the values of this part of the world. And it's our values. What's important to us is non-existent. And these tools, this platform will have tools in the I'm already getting pitches in my investment through my investment firm that is basically, about applications and all that. Very, very soon you will see, this is where we think the next $500 billion companies are coming, right?
Yeah.
The companies that build verticals on top of these models.
Yeah.
That will give us this applications that will be used by your kids.
Yeah.
And my kids and their kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it will be much more, and they are optimized to engage with us and with our kids and our grandchildren to interact with us like humans. So it's going to be a lot more convincing than for us, social media at the time will look like kids play in terms of influence on society. And we already know how much social media affected our society.
Of course.
Right?
I mean, for me,
this is going to be a lot more.
Say something was sorry to interrupt, but it was just this point about, I feel like there's a lot of difference within our society, although it's, considerably not as populated, but there's a lot of diversity, and I love that, and I think that this diversity is what gives, the character to a certain place. It gives the life that, the
Yeah.
spice of life comes from this, being different, having different interests, different backgrounds, different religions, different creeds, all together in one place, and it's great. But when you're talking about this uniform ideology that will become, as a result of this AI, it will be in the, I could foresee it being this kind of one type of human,
Yeah.
and one interest, and one, like, the if I could call it, the ideal consumer is really what it's going to be, right? It's
Yeah.
the person who's going to buy the most and look like this and follow this and eat this and go to this place, and it just becomes this, whether you're from China or Venezuela, you're gonna you're gonna have the
Yeah,
same thing.
there will be large language model by China targeting us and targeting other populations in Africa and other places. And the question is, what are we doing? What are we doing about it? I've been really kind of thinking deeply about this. I am very concerned. I think, look, the future is bright in terms of how AI is going to change a lot of ways we do business, and it's the next economic growth.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of views about that. And I
Yeah.
think, and I think our investment, my personal investment thesis is based on that trajectory, definitely. But just on a kind of personal level, I think if we don't do, as people who are thinking ahead, and countries, Middle Eastern countries who have the resources, like Qatar and the Gulf and the
Yeah,
talent,
Saudi
you just,
Arabia,
yeah, everyone.
UAE. I mean, the
The same way I
resources
always
are
said in
there.
my, I did a talk in Al Jazeera a couple of days ago. I had a conference on AI and media, and I did the keynote speech. And my key message was, well, I talked about biases and everything, but my keynote, my key message was, the same way advanced nations have banded together to create the International Space Station, because the moment called for to rise above all differences and let's go and explore space and grow for the sake of humanity. I think we are in the Middle East and in the Muslim world in general at a juncture where it is time to rise above differences and develop uh, an organization that its mission is to develop something parallel, whether collaboration with Google or Micro, I just don't care. It's just how to get there. But we have to
You're not
have,
part of the discussion.
we
right?
have to have a large language model
Yeah.
that carries our values,
Yeah.
and open it up for entrepreneurs in the region to build applications that are suited for our world, instead of waiting for the West.
Yeah, and this is not a private
And the
sector
East.
conversation. This is government, right? This is, for this to happen, for an
This
idea
is-
like this. This is a lot of money, a lot of governments, a lot.
This is what DARPA
did.
did.
Yeah.
Look, technology in the United States, I'm one of the beneficiaries of the SBR program, which is kind of grant for startups and the DARPA programs and all that, right? Because they know initial investments in long-term technology like this is not private sector undertaking.
Right. Yeah. It's yeah.
But because the reason DeepMind has been created and OpenAI is because there are deep pockets in the private sector in the United States and other places that can fund this, because they know this is their future growth. But for the Middle East, I think this is more of a government act, the same way like the International Space Station. That's not a private sector.
Yeah.
It's a government to government,
Yeah.
thing. And I think we are at that juncture right now. For the sake of our children, our grandchildren, I think it's absolutely necessary that we embark on a mission. I'm not saying to stop development, to actually be part of that technological revolution, not as a user, but as innovator.
No, but you said something to me. There's only 1%. I want to get that statistic from you, or where
I will send it to you. I will send it to you.
We'll put it in for further reading. But 1% of internet content is Arabic.
Yes,
that's a problem.
Definitely,
that is because it just means you're not even part of this world.
Yeah,
you're a footnote. You're not even a fine print. It's a little PTO.
Definitely.
Not to end on a very bleak kind of conclusion, but does the stability within this region right now, when you look at from Morocco to Yemen and what's happening in the Arab world, a lot of the benefit for the West came from, Arab doctors, Arab engineers, Arab, whether Lebanese, Syrian, Egyptian, Moroccan, Tunisian, Algerian, they either went to Europe or America. And that founded industries for those countries.
Yeah.
Like the student visa application to the US or the UK or those places, the amount of kind of things that you can do as a citizen or as a resident while you're a student in those countries, just how you add value to the economy, even when you're there as a it's this much, you're in it. You're part of the system.
Yeah.
You know the rules. This is what's going on with you. This is what you can and cannot do. And this is, you'll get educated. After that, you'll get a job. And then if you come
grow
up with an idea, that's pretty much similar to your story.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I just went there as a student.
The opportunities didn't exist.
Yeah.
You went there. The opportunities got there. Kept working. You got to a point where you were naturalized. You became American, and the rest, as they say, is
exactly. Yeah, I think it's a deeper story. I think in terms of how we can do this here. I think just if you look at in the region here, whether those who are in their countries or expats who left their countries and traveled overseas and became very successful in terms of Arab, and you just generalize it more, Muslim talent.
Yeah.
In all these disciplines that we talked about is just there.
Yeah.
And they're at the top of their career. And when the calling comes, I think, it's very easy to bring talent here. I always say,
just a couple of emails, huh?
Couple of emails. Yeah. I think if you, we've been talking offline, and is it 60% or more of entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley are first and second generation immigrants.
Yeah.
And people go, their primary target is not to make money, is to build a dream, really. I mean, for me, is to build my dream, right? Money will follow. Like I always tell my kids, don't follow money, add value, and money will follow.
Yeah.
And so when you go there, you really feel you're part of, it's an immigrant country.
Yeah.
I lived in the Netherlands and Germany for a few years. You still feel you're not. What makes the United States what it is in terms of even Silicon Valley is you feel you are, as long as you are, producing, you immediately integrated in the society. So it's
the American dream, isn't it? Like that's what it was, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I just don't like to use.
I know. But I'm a product of that. I'm not going to say this in the sense of, but I mean, grew up consuming their shows, consuming their culture, consuming all of this. Now, when I made money, and I got to a point where I'm like, hey, let me go visit America. They changed it. I'm like, nice.
It changed. For sure it changed. I mean, America is not the same. It became like areas where you were.
But I understand what you're saying. Like the concept of value, the concept of, you do get that. You're there because of, I respect your existence. I respect that you have this value. Yeah. And you're adding value to this community, regardless of, where you come from, what you do. No one cares.
Right.
You're here. This is the law. We live together in this community. We're both happy. We're both adding value. And you were going there for that dream. You had this idea, and you wanted to make it a reality. And then.
But wasn't this the environment during the Islamic Renaissance, right? Where it was the Middle East, Baghdad in Cairo and Morocco and other places around the world that around the Middle East, there were hubs for scientists and philosophers and talents, not from the Middle East, from all over the world.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm optimistic, right? I always history is like a pendulum. So pendulum was on that side, for a few years.
It's slowly starting to come back now.
The history book is probably 2 pages. So probably we are coming for the next 2 pages, So, I'm optimistic.
I mean, we kind of touched on a bit, but I feel like the more important thing now is from this region. I mean, I live in Qatar, and it's, I have different opinions on what it is, and you said Qatar is great for the family.
Yes,
it is 100%, but it's not great for a party. But hopefully I'll turn it into a big party. Hopefully, because I mean, the culture, people, there's a lot. There's a lot of people here who are musicians, artists, graffiti artists, whatever, poets.
But that's not party. The party I meant.
Yeah, but I mean, I have, I'm lucky enough to meet very interesting people, and they all live here. And it's just a sense of that for me it's not a melting pot. They don't, it's not, and it shouldn't be, every
I am not a believer in melting pot, by the way. I'm a believer of keeping the identity of whatever group you have, and this melting pot thing. Why do you want to dissolve the identity?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. No, I just don't agree with melting pot concept.
They have this history. They have
that. And so actually creating that, and that's something I learned when I started working with Her Excellency, is the vision that to make a place that is attractive to talent.
Yeah.
Because these are the talent that will drive the economy.
Yep.
And the mix of the talent of the locals, the Qatari friends and the expats, and having that mix of knowledge is what will, on the arts, on the creative side and all that, I think that's what will create, the future. And this country is just positioned
perfectly for it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, to me, the next step. I don't want to be critical, but I'm going to say, everything is there.
Yeah.
The culture scene is growing. The art scene is growing. The creative industries are expanding. There is a strategy, but just, push it there. And even, look, I think an education infrastructure the Qatar Foundation, education system is here. Amazing universities.
I want to go in there and talk to
if
every
I talk
single
about,
professor there.
we want to talk about the AI and the future. Everything is here. You just need to create that environment to stimulate and attract wider pool of talent in these sectors, in these growing sectors in art and culture and psychology and AI and computer science and all that will make it grow. Because AI is, we haven't seen it yet.
There we go. We're in this moment now. So what is your AI future look like then?
Oh, you want the bleak version or the happy version?
I want the real version. There is no happiness.
It's very hard to predict. It's very hard to predict the future.
But I
tell you, I can tell you the good one, I think, but
Okay.
if we don't, like, if we're on that trajectory, like, I just consider 2017, since that paper is published, actually 2010, since DeepMind started evolving their technology,
Yeah.
and Google Brain Team and OpenAI, that really has been phenomenal progress.
Mm-hmm.
So you would see, like, DeepMind has the AlphaFold, which is a technology to help find the best way to fold proteins, which will help discover medicines faster. And, like, instead of taking years, it can take few weeks and all that stuff. So you will see the wheel of progress is going to be faster and faster. But on an individual level, you will start seeing AI coming into every aspect of our life, direct engagement, whether through conversational AI, the way we're using it, will continue to evolve and become smarter. It will become much more personalized. It will know you more. It will become your best friend, and all that stuff is going to come. And also, it will be in our homes, like you see the humanoid that Tesla is building, right? This is coming into our homes within the next 5 years. It's going to be coming into our homes, or building AI, embedding it in the Neuralink, the microchips that Elon Musk is working on, and that
How
kind
do you
of thing.
feel about that? Because I'm all for
It's
that.
coming. It's
I'm all for it.
It's
Like,
no
it's like,
question. It is coming.
would you put it in your head? Would you drill
I
it in?
don't know, man. I'm not,
No?
maybe my kids would, but I don't know.
I'm all for it. If it works, I don't want to be a test pilot, but like
that wheel of progression is happening and all that. But there is a direction of AI. Like 10 years ago, if you see scientists talking about super intelligent AI, you say, get out of here. Like, scientists wouldn't dare talk about it, because not maybe 10, maybe 15, because it was seen as something that is in the realm of impossible. Right now, every other day, you see a new article published, peer journals, peer-reviewed, about the alignment problems and the control problems of super intelligent AI, because we are coming closer to it faster than a lot of people think. And Elon Musk, in one of his interviews, said, if you think that nuclear weapons are dangerous, you don't know anything. You do not know anything about AI. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Right. So, so are we going to reach a time where there will be a general intelligent AI? I separate between AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which can do all the tasks that we could do, and super intelligent. And probably the threshold between these is probably a few minutes, because by the time you reach an AI that's capable of fixing itself and adjusting itself and improving itself, then you come to a stage where it's going to become super intelligent. And so people say, oh, we can put just a kill switch. Well, and that's not only me saying, that's what the community is saying. Okay, so if you have a super intelligent AI, you think that don't know there's a kill switch, you think they will not protect themselves from you, mere human, to come and switch them off. And so there is danger out there, and there's a big research and money being poured into the control problem and the alignment problem in artificial intelligence, because when we are very good as humans, if look at history, at building machines that are better than us. Right? Cars, planes, computers faster, but we are not good.
The George Foreman grill, buddy.
That George Foreman grill,
like that stuff was revolutionary. I'm just putting it out.
and so, but we are not very good at preempting the danger of what we are building. No. So we only act when crisis happened.
I mean, look at the product of social media right now, where we're at.
So we started taking precautions. GDPR and all that stuff came after social media started. Exactly. But the danger of AI is it's a different beast, because it's going to be much smarter. Maybe it would be too late to do it.
Yeah. I think there's two. Have you ever watched the film Her?
No, I didn't. I watched. What's the name of? Can't remember the name of it. Was
So Her is Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with a virtual assistant.
Replica is exactly
It is
becoming real.
a amazing film.
Yeah.
If you're on a flight tomorrow, download it.
I will.
It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I think it'll if you can go away with something.
Watch Machina.
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
I watched that.
Oh my God.
That's the future, right? That is real.
Right.
Like,
right. I see. I just want to, there is a lot, maybe I want to end on a positive note. We have a lot of smart people working on this control problem and AI problem. But so one problem we have in the fundamental math of AI is what we called before is the objective function.
Yeah.
Like, you create your, as an independent human, conscious human, you create your objective function. You get up in this morning and say, I want to go home now.
Mhm.
Right? That's an objective, right?
Mhm.
And you go home now. But so far, all our AI, the objective function is defined by us. All the worry that is happening is, what if I define to the machine an objective function and it goes out crazy, like
Yeah.
we discussed?
Yeah.
So the fundamental math, if we want to fix the problem, a lot of people are saying we have to change the math to make this objective function also variable, meaning adjust as it progress, because it can listen to a human say, don't do this. This is really not our value. So you can adjust this objective function based on input. That requires major
That's like building
innovation.
consciousness, right?
Yeah, and
Like that's that's building morality within immortality.
yeah, so it's a very good question. Maybe that's another 2 hours talk.
Probably.
But just a simple way of this, a simple answer to this. There is a group of people,
Mhm.
or philosophers and computer scientists and people working in AI, who believe that consciousness is purely computational, meaning I can
You can create it.
you can model it, you
Yeah.
can create it.
Yeah.
And you remember that Google engineer who got fired because he said that the AI Lambda Google, which is
Yeah.
the equivalent of
Yeah.
ChatGPT, is
sentient.
sentient.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, he doesn't know if we. But he asked the question and he gave him answer that is very, very close. You very psychologically, it impactful.
Mm.
And so, and we are at, not at superhuman stage yet, right? So that's one thinking group of. There is another group that believe that there is conscious and free will are part computation, but there's part that is not computational, which I ascribe to, which is, as a religious person that has more, our souls and nafsu, that kind of thing, right? So, both camps are out there. So AI triggers a lot of philosophical and religious questions.
Yeah.
I think we as Muslims and people who are close to this need to be engaged in this conversation from a philosophical point of view, and also educate our kids, because believe me, it can change the way our grandchildren will think, unless we have answers ready for them.
Yeah. I mean, like,
it's a big issue.
I'll give you an example. I say this is a joke, and it's part of a bit that I do, which is I look at my dad and I look at his generation and I'm upset, because in their generation, it was like, I made you, now do what I say. In the same product of that, this product of that generation is now I have kids and my generation has kids. And because of the world that we live in today, it's I made you to our kids. Now, what can I do for you? It's like, that's 30 years difference.
Right.
And it's because of,
But the next
being
evolution is
accepted.
what?
Who knows?
That would not listen to
Who
you
knows?
even,
No one.
right? Because they have a friend and they have an AI friend and
Yeah.
a very, very smart and very knowledgeable AI friend that you can't stop.
This is what it's doing socially. That's what I mean.
It will answer to them religious questions they will ask.
Yeah.
And they will ask these systems that are done by, that have their Western values, questions about beliefs.
Mm.
And unless we get in the middle of this, we have a problem.
Yeah. I think anyone who goes on ChatGPT will understand just like 20 minutes on it how dangerous and not existentially dangerous it is. Because I mean, for me, I went on and I was like, yes, there's great things and it gives you answers and it writes and it can write a script and it can do things like that. But then, because I'm a weirdo, I think I just asked it, all of these questions, and it was like, okay, this is weird. This is a computer.
Yeah.
And it's talking like,
But it's giving you things that it hasn't been said before, because it's a collective knowledge, by the way.
Yeah. And yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is scary. It is scary. And I don't know where it goes from there, because I know that, there's a lot of disciplines or practices or jobs that will just become completely obsolete. Like, if you're a graphic designer now, all you need is that OpenAI, Illustrator. You just go and say, give me a picture of this, a Qatari podcast maker.
They are good now and they will be better, right?
Exactly.
So even before we thought, when I started studying, in the expert systems, impossible. Yeah, I will do creative jobs. I'm telling you,
They're gonna
even
be the only
creative
jobs.
jobs. So, but what's missing in a creative job? What's missing in an art piece that was done by OpenAI is the emotional things. And
it's there.
But if you ask an AI person, what's an emotion? It's the collective experience that have been accumulated over the years from observing the world and also you experiencing yourself. But if you build an app on top of GPT that captures that as you grow, and it grows with you.
Hasta la bye-bye. Listen, I could keep talking, but I think you have better things to do, and I would love it for you to come back on.
Inshallah.
And inshallah, I'm sure this isn't the last time we'll talk. Yeah, this will go up, and I'll send you the link. And thanks for everyone who's watching.
Okay, thank you.
It's been an absolute
pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You've just ruined my Saturday. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.